Imagine waking up tomorrow and discovering someone had quietly taken $20 out of your wallet every single day. You'd be furious. You'd check your bank account, call your credit card company, maybe even file a police report. But here's the uncomfortable truth. For millions of Americans, that's exactly what's happening. Not because of a hacker. Not because of identity theft. But because of everyday spending habits that feel completely normal. A coffee on the way to work. Food delivery after a long day. A streaming subscription you forgot you even had. Individually, these purchases seem harmless. They're small. They're convenient. They're easy to justify. But together, they create something financial experts call money leaks. Tiny expenses that slowly drain thousands of dollars from your life without you ever noticing. The worst part? Most people don't realize how much these habits are costing them until years later, when they wonder why their savings account is empty, why retirement feels impossible, or why they're still living paycheck to paycheck despite earning a decent income. Today, we're exposing the 12 everyday things silently stealing your wealth, and more importantly, what financially successful people do instead. Some of these habits might surprise you. And one of them is probably something you did today. Here's something most people never think about. Getting rich isn't just about earning more money. It's about keeping more of the money you already make. Imagine two friends. Both earn $75,000 a year. One constantly wonders where their paycheck went. The other invests consistently, builds savings, and watches their net worth grow every year. The difference isn't always income. Often, it's daily decisions. We live in a world designed to make spending effortless. With one tap, food arrives at your door. Another tap buys something you didn't even know you wanted 5 minutes ago. Monthly subscriptions renew automatically. Stores constantly advertise limited-time deals. Credit cards make purchases feel painless. Companies spend billions of dollars studying human psychology. They know exactly how to trigger impulse buying. They know how to make convenience feel irresistible. And most importantly, they know that people rarely notice small recurring expenses. Because our brains don't react strongly to losing $10 or $20. But they absolutely react to losing 10,000. That's why these small purchases are so dangerous. They don't feel expensive. Until you add them together. Today isn't about guilt. You don't have to stop enjoying life. The goal isn't to never buy coffee or never order pizza again. The goal is simple. Spend intentionally. Because every dollar you don't waste is another dollar working toward your future instead of someone else's profits. Let's start with one of the biggest money drains in America. Picture this. You've had a long day. You're tired. The fridge looks empty. Cooking sounds impossible. So you open your favorite delivery app. You order a burger. The meal itself costs $14. Seems reasonable. Then come the extras. Delivery fee. Service fee. Small order fee. Taxes. Driver tip. Suddenly, that $14 meal costs almost $30. And because it arrives at your door in 30 minutes. It feels worth it. Now imagine doing that 3 times every week. That's over $4,000 a year for meals that often would have cost half as much if you picked them up, or cooked at home. Delivery apps don't just sell food. They sell convenience. And convenience is one of the most expensive products in the modern economy. Successful people aren't immune to this temptation. The difference is they understand the value of delayed gratification. Instead of asking, "What do I feel like eating right now?" they ask, "Is this purchase worth delaying my financial goals?" Sometimes the answer is yes. Most of the time, it's no. One delivery won't make you broke. But hundreds of deliveries over several years? That's a vacation. A car down payment. Or thousands invested for your future. Convenience today often becomes regret tomorrow. If delivery apps quietly empty your wallet. The next habit drains your money even faster, because most people don't even realize they're paying for it. Take a moment and think about this. How many subscriptions are currently charging your bank account? Netflix, Spotify, cloud storage, gym memberships, premium apps, gaming services, streaming platforms, news subscriptions, software. Maybe even a meal kit you forgot to cancel months ago. Now ask yourself one question. When was the last time you actually used all of them? Subscription businesses are incredibly profitable for one reason. People forget. $10 here. $15 there. $20 somewhere else. Individually. They're invisible. Together. They can quietly cost over $1,000 every year. Companies don't hope you'll use their service every day. They hope you won't notice you're still paying. That's why cancellation buttons are often buried deep inside account settings. Financially successful people perform something called a subscription audit. Every few months, they review every recurring payment. If something isn't providing real value, it gets cancelled. Think about it this way. Every monthly subscription is competing against your future investments. Every recurring payment asks one simple question. Am I improving your life enough to deserve this money? If the answer isn't a confident yes, you already know what to do. But even subscriptions aren't the biggest trap. Because the next habit doesn't happen every month. It happens in seconds. And it's responsible for billions of dollars in unnecessary spending every year. You open Amazon to buy toothpaste. 5 minutes later, you've added headphones, a phone stand, a kitchen gadget, a hoodie you didn't know existed. And somehow, your total is over $120. Sound familiar? This isn't an accident. Online stores are engineered to encourage impulse buying. Customers also bought. Only 2 left. Limited time deal. Flash sale ends tonight. Every message creates urgency. Psychologists call this FOMO, the fear of missing out. Companies know you're far more likely to buy something when you believe it might disappear. But here's the truth. Most limited time offers come back. Most discounts aren't unique. And most impulse purchases lose their excitement within days. There's a simple rule many wealthy people follow. The 24-hour rule. If they want something that isn't essential, they wait one full day before buying it. Something interesting happens. The emotional excitement fades. And they can finally ask themselves one question. Do I actually need this? Most of the time, the answer is no. That single habit has saved countless people thousands of dollars. Remember. Every impulse purchase steals money from your future self. Because the money you spend today loses the opportunity to grow tomorrow. And over time, that opportunity becomes enormous. So far, we've talked about the small leaks that quietly drain your wallet. A few dollars here. A subscription there. An impulse purchase you didn't really need. On their own, they don't seem dangerous. But now we're moving into a different category. These next 3 habits don't just cost you hundreds of dollars. They can cost you tens, or even hundreds, of thousands of dollars over your lifetime. Let's start with something many Americans consider completely normal. Imagine 2 neighbors. They both make around $80,000 a year. Every morning, they leave for work at the same time. One drives a brand new luxury SUV with a monthly payment of $850. The other drives a reliable 5-year-old sedan that's fully paid off. From the outside, most people assume the first neighbor is wealthier. But appearances can be deceiving. The second neighbor invests the money they aren't sending to a bank every month. Year after year, those investments grow. Meanwhile, the luxury SUV is doing the exact opposite. It's losing value almost every day. This is one of the biggest financial misconceptions people make. They mistake an expensive lifestyle for actual wealth. A car is a tool. Its job is to get you safely from one place to another. But modern marketing has transformed cars into symbols of success. Luxury commercials rarely talk about fuel efficiency or reliability. Instead, they sell an identity. Status. Prestige. The feeling that you've made it. There's nothing wrong with buying your dream car, if you can truly afford it. The problem begins when the payment stretches your budget, delays investing, or forces you to live paycheck to paycheck. Here's something worth thinking about. If your car payment is $700 per month, that's $8,400 every year. Invest that same amount consistently over decades, and the difference can become life-changing. Wealthy people often ask a question before making a major purchase. Will this asset grow in value, or shrink? Most cars shrink. Investments, businesses, and productive assets have the potential to grow. The goal isn't to drive the cheapest car forever. The goal is to avoid sacrificing your financial future just to impress people who probably aren't paying attention anyway. Because real wealth isn't parked in your driveway. It's reflected in your net worth. Cars may be the biggest monthly payment for many households. But the next habit is even more dangerous. Because it quietly charges you for yesterday's purchases. Every single month. Imagine buying a $500 television. Now imagine paying $800 for that same television because you only made the minimum payments. It sounds ridiculous. But that's exactly how high-interest credit card debt works. Credit cards aren't inherently bad. In fact, when used responsibly, they can build credit, offer rewards, and provide valuable consumer protections. The problem isn't the card. It's the interest. Many credit cards charge annual interest rates high enough that balances can snowball if they're not paid off quickly. Suddenly, you're no longer paying for what you bought. You're paying for the privilege of owing money. And that's one of the fastest ways to fall behind financially. Here's where psychology comes into play. Paying with cash feels different than paying with a card. When you hand over physical money, your brain experiences the loss immediately. But swiping, or tapping, a card creates emotional distance. The purchase feels almost painless. Until the bill arrives. Successful people understand this difference. They don't ask, "Can I afford the monthly payment?" They ask, "Can I pay this off in full?" That's a completely different mindset. Because debt limits your future choices. Every dollar spent on interest is a dollar that can't be invested, saved, or used to create opportunities. Imagine trying to climb a mountain while someone keeps adding weight to your backpack. That's what high-interest debt feels like. No matter how hard you work, the climb becomes more difficult. The sooner you eliminate expensive debt, the sooner your money starts working for you instead of against you. Remember this simple rule. Interest can be your greatest enemy, or your greatest friend. When you borrow, you usually pay it. When you invest, you can earn it. The wealthy spend decades letting compound growth help them. Too many people spend decades letting compound interest hurt them. If credit card debt keeps people trapped, the next habit keeps them constantly chasing something they don't actually need. You're checking out at the store after buying a new laptop. The cashier asks one final question. Would you like to add a 3-year protection plan for just $149? Suddenly, you're imagining every possible disaster. What if you drop it? What if it stops working? What if something breaks right after the manufacturer's warranty expires? That feeling isn't random. It's based on a psychological principle called loss aversion. Research has shown that people often fear losing something they already own more than they enjoy gaining something new. Companies know this. That's why extended warranties are offered at the exact moment you're emotionally invested in your purchase. You're no longer thinking logically. You're thinking emotionally. Now, there are situations where an extended warranty can make sense, especially for certain expensive products with high repair costs. But many people buy them automatically without asking whether the risk actually justifies the cost. If you buy warranties for televisions, headphones, kitchen appliances, gaming consoles, and every new gadget, those costs add up quickly. Instead of asking, "What if this breaks?" ask a different question. If it did break, could I afford to repair or replace it? If the answer is yes, self-insuring may be the smarter financial choice. Successful people understand something important. Insurance is designed to protect you from financial disasters, not every minor inconvenience. Protect your house. Protect your health. Protect your income. But don't automatically insure every toaster, blender, or pair of headphones you own. Sometimes the greatest protection isn't another warranty. It's having enough savings to handle unexpected expenses yourself. That's real financial security. Speaking of paying more than necessary. The next habit is hiding in almost every grocery store aisle. Imagine standing in a supermarket. On one shelf is a nationally advertised cereal. Bright packaging. Familiar logo. TV commercials you've seen for years. Next to it sits the store brand version. The ingredients look almost identical. The nutrition label is nearly the same. But one costs several dollars more. Now multiply that difference across an entire shopping cart. Cleaning supplies. Medicine. Paper towels. Pasta. Frozen vegetables. Pain relievers. Household products. Many people automatically reach for the famous brand without ever comparing what's actually inside. Why? Because brands don't just sell products. They sell trust, comfort, recognition, and sometimes, status. There's nothing wrong with paying more for higher quality when the difference is real. But many generic products are made to similar standards and perform just as well for everyday use. Financially successful shoppers don't buy the cheapest option every time. They buy the best value. That's an important difference. They ask questions like, am I paying for better quality, or better marketing? Sometimes the answer is quality. Other times, it's simply a logo. Saving just a few dollars during each grocery trip may not feel exciting. But remember what we've discussed throughout this video. Wealth isn't built through one giant decision. It's built through hundreds of smart decisions repeated consistently. A few dollars saved every week. Month after month. Year after year. Can become thousands of dollars invested for your future. The goal isn't to stop enjoying life. It's to make sure you're paying for value, not just familiarity. Now let's talk about a place designed to make convenience feel priceless. Picture this. You're filling up your car with gas. As you walk toward the register, you tell yourself you're only going inside to pay. 5 minutes later. You walk out with a soda. A bag of chips. A candy bar. Maybe an energy drink. You spent $15. And none of it was on your shopping list. Convenience stores are masters of impulse spending. Everything is carefully placed. The drinks are cold. The snacks are at eye level. The checkout counter is surrounded by candy and small purchases that seem too inexpensive to matter. But convenience always comes at a price. That same bottle of water might cost half as much at the grocery store. The same snacks can often be purchased in bulk for significantly less. The difference isn't the product. It's the convenience. And when convenience becomes a daily habit, the costs multiply. Imagine spending just $10 a day on unplanned convenience purchases. That doesn't sound outrageous. But over a year, that's more than $3,600. And that's before considering what that money could have earned if it had been invested instead. Here's a simple habit many financially disciplined people follow. They prepare before they leave home. A reusable water bottle. Coffee in a travel mug. Healthy snacks packed in advance. It sounds almost too simple. But preparation reduces temptation. The less often you're forced to make spending decisions in the moment, the easier it becomes to stay in control. Because most financial mistakes don't happen during careful planning. They happen when we're hungry, rushed, tired, or simply looking for convenience. Winning with money isn't about having perfect discipline. It's about creating an environment where good decisions become easier than bad ones. We've reached the final 3 habits. If you've stayed with me this far, you've probably noticed something. None of these habits are about being lazy. None of them mean you're bad with money. In fact, almost all of them are considered completely normal. That's what makes them so dangerous. Because when everyone around you is doing the same thing, it's easy to believe it's harmless. But financial freedom doesn't come from following the crowd. It comes from making better decisions than the average person. Let's look at the final 3 money leaks. Imagine someone walks into a convenience store every Friday and spends $20 on lottery tickets. It doesn't feel like much. It's just $20. It's fun. What if I win? Week after week. Month after month. Year after year. That small habit quietly becomes more than $1,000 every year. Over 20 years, that's tens of thousands of dollars spent chasing a dream that almost never happens. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Lotteries aren't designed to make players rich. They're designed to make lottery companies, and governments, money. The odds of winning a life-changing jackpot are incredibly small. Yet millions of people continue buying tickets because our brains are naturally attracted to unlikely rewards. Psychologists call this optimism bias. We tend to overestimate the chances of good things happening to us. We imagine what we'd do with millions of dollars. The dream feels exciting. And that's exactly what keeps people playing. There's nothing wrong with buying an occasional ticket for entertainment. The problem begins when it becomes part of your financial plan. Hope is not an investment strategy. Imagine taking that same $20 every week and putting it into a diversified investment instead. It may not create overnight wealth. But over decades, it gives your money something the lottery almost never will. A realistic chance to grow. The wealthy rarely rely on luck. They rely on consistency. Because financial independence isn't built by hitting the jackpot. It's built by making smart decisions over and over again. If the lottery sells dreams, the next habit sells something just as tempting. The feeling of always having something new. Open your closet. Be honest. How many shirts, shoes, jackets, or accessories haven't been worn in months? Maybe even years. Most of us own far more clothing than we actually use. Yet every season brings another sale. Another trend. Another reason to buy. Fast fashion has completely changed the way people shop. New collections arrive constantly. Prices seem incredibly low. And social media makes yesterday's outfit feel outdated. The result? People buy more. Wear less. And repeat the cycle again. Here's the irony. Buying cheap clothing over and over often costs more than buying a few high-quality pieces that last for years. Financially successful people usually think differently. Instead of asking, "Is this on sale?" they ask, "Will I still be happy I bought this a year from now?" That's a powerful question. Because excitement fades. But quality remains. Another helpful rule is the one in, one out principle. Before buying a new item, ask yourself which existing item you're willing to replace. If there's no answer, you probably don't need it. Minimalism isn't about owning nothing. It's about making sure everything you own has a purpose. When you stop buying things just because they're cheap, you create space, not just in your closet, but in your budget as well. And that extra money can begin building something much more valuable than another outfit. It can begin building freedom. Now we've reached the final habit. And in many ways, it's the most expensive mistake of all. Not because of the money you spend, but because of the money you never allow to grow. Let's be honest. This video was never really about coffee, or food delivery, or subscriptions, or lottery tickets. Those are just symptoms. The real battle isn't happening in your wallet. It's happening in your mind. Every single day, you're faced with hundreds of financial decisions. Most of them seem insignificant. $5 here. $20 there. A quick online purchase before bed. A monthly subscription you forgot about. None of these choices feel like they matter. But your financial future isn't built in one dramatic moment. It's built in these ordinary moments. The choices nobody sees. The choices nobody applauds. The choices that quietly shape your life. Think about the wealthiest people you know. They didn't become financially secure because they skipped one cup of coffee. They became financially secure because they consistently made decisions that put their future ahead of their present impulses. That's the real difference. Not intelligence. Not luck. Not even income. It's consistency. Imagine two versions of yourself. Both wake up tomorrow with the exact same salary. The exact same bills. The exact same opportunities. The first version continues life on autopilot. Orders food several times a week. Upgrades every new gadget. Buys things because they're on sale. Carries credit card debt. Tells themselves they'll start investing someday. Nothing feels extreme. Nothing feels irresponsible. But year after year, those small habits quietly steal their financial freedom. Now imagine the second version. They still enjoy life. They still go out with friends. They still take vacations. But before spending money, they ask one simple question. Is this purchase bringing me closer to the life I want, or further away from it? Sometimes they spend. Sometimes they don't. The difference isn't perfection. It's intention. After 10 years, the gap between these two lives is enormous. Not because one person earned dramatically more, but because one person gave their money a purpose. Here's a simple habit that can change the way you think forever. Before buying anything that isn't essential, pause for just 10 seconds. Then ask yourself these 3 questions. Question 1. Do I actually need this? Or do I simply want it because I'm bored, stressed, or influenced by advertising? Question 2. Will I still be happy I bought this 6 months from now? If the excitement only lasts a few hours, it's probably not worth the cost. Question 3. What could this money become if I invested it instead? This question changes everything. Because suddenly, you're not comparing a purchase against its price. You're comparing it against your future. That's how wealthy people think. Not because they're cheap. Because they understand opportunity cost. Every dollar has only one job. Once it's spent, it can't work for you anymore. One of the biggest myths about building wealth is that you have to stop enjoying life. That's simply not true. Money isn't meant to sit untouched forever. It's meant to improve your life. Go on the vacation. Celebrate birthdays. Take your family out to dinner. Buy things that genuinely bring lasting value. The key is making sure you're spending on things that actually make your life better. Not on habits that disappear as quickly as your paycheck. Financial freedom isn't about saying no to everything. It's about saying yes to the things that matter most. So here's your challenge. Today, Open your banking app. Look at your last 30 days of spending. Don't judge yourself. Just observe. Circle 3 purchases you could have lived without. Not because they were bad, but because they didn't truly improve your life. Now imagine investing that money every month for the next 10, 20, or 30 years. That simple exercise might be the moment your financial future begins to change. Because awareness comes before change. And change comes before wealth. Remember, wealth isn't built by making one perfect decision. It's built by making hundreds of good decisions when nobody is watching. The person you'll become 5 years from now depends on the habits you build today. Start small. Stay consistent. Be patient. Because every dollar you save, every dollar you invest, and every unnecessary purchase you avoid, is another brick in the foundation of your financial freedom. Your future self is depending on the decisions you make today. Make them count. If you found this video valuable, make sure to hit the like button so more people can learn these money habits. Subscribe for weekly videos on personal finance, investing, and the psychology of wealth that can help you build a stronger financial future. And before you go, answer this in the comments. Which of these 12 money habits surprised you the most, and which one are you going to stop today? You might inspire someone else to change their financial future too. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.